if you watch my beginner's guide to dove hunting video, I briefly touched on gear, but that video was just so long and packed with so much information that I didn't have time to go into a lot of detail about the gear I use while I'm out dove hunting. In this video, I'll show you what I plan on bringing into the dove fields on opening day this year. The oldest and most important piece of gear that you could take dove hunting is the old 5-gallon bucket. You know, this is a seat, a decoy carrier, a bird locker, an ice chest, a trash can, and even a toilet, all in one convenient and easy to carry package. Guns, ammo, and decoys have changed drastically over generations of dove hunting, but the old bucket is just as useful today as it was when your great grandfather used a steel bucket in the field. You know, you can turn these buckets upside down and sit on it like a seat. People have done that for decades, but it gets uncomfortable really fast when you do that. So I recommend a cheap padded seat for 5-gallon buckets for you to sit on. I highly recommend that you spend a few extra dollars and get one of these padded swiveling seats. You know, these allow you to rotate freely on your seat so you could shoot birds from a seated position. You know, often when you draw doves into your decoys, um, you know, and then suddenly stand up to make a shot, the act of standing up and pointing an object at the doves makes them instantly turn away from you. So when shooting over decoys, staying seated gives you a couple of extra seconds to let the birds get closer without spooking them. So a bucket is more than a seat in the dove fields. It's the ultimate storage locker. So let me show you what my bucket carries. Okay, so I'm going to quickly show what I bring in my bucket here. And you can see this is a swivel seat right here, so I can sit down and swivel around and watch the birds and even shoot birds from a seating position. It's got this little handle back here so you can pull the lid off. And inside, see, I've got my bag of decoys. This is basically two spinning wing decoys and a couple of feeding birds. And then I keep all of the wings and flappers and stuff in this separate bag right here because these are just made out of cardboard and fiberboard. And I don't want these to get bent or damaged, so I package these separately from the decoys. And then you can see I have 3 or 4 frozen bottles of water in here. And I keep these frozen in here because after I set up my decoys and everything, I lay these in this bucket right here. And when I shoot doves, I put the doves in a Ziploc, big gallon Ziploc baggie, and throw it on top of the frozen water bottles and put the lid back on it, and it keeps the doves kind of cool. I put my doves in this because, you know, I don't know about where you hunt, but here in California where I hunt, especially the desert regions, if you shoot a dove and you throw it down on the ground next to your bucket, that thing will be picked clean by red ants in probably about 15 minutes. And if they don't get it, a hawk might swoop down and get it, or something else might get it. You know, even a snake on the ground might come up and take it. So don't, at least where I live, don't throw your damn doves on the ground. Use your bucket. And I like to keep it neat by putting them in a Ziploc bag on top of these frozen water bottles. And when the frozen water bottles start to melt a little bit, well, then you have extra drinking water too. And also on the bottom of these, I have these Dove Flicker. And I bought a 4-pack of these, and I put these out in my spread too. So that's what's inside my bucket. So let me show you what's around the sides of my bucket right here. I have 2 spare water bottles right there, and rotate it over. Rags. Oh man, these are a lifesaver. Always keep rags on you. I mean, they're handy for wiping sweat off your forehead or wiping sweat off your sunglasses. Uh, they're handy when you pick up bloody doves and you need to wipe the blood off your hands. You know, so a couple of rags are very handy. And in that same pocket right there, I also have a mosquito net. Yes, I've used some bushes or hunted near water, you know, when you get out there early in the morning, and mosquitoes are a real problem, especially those ankle biter mosquitoes we have here locally now. So I do carry a mosquito net, and it is summer. I also carry a thing of sunscreen in there, and some bug spray. So that's what's in that pocket. And rotate even further, one of the most important things you can carry, toilet paper. Now I always put my toilet paper inside a Ziploc baggie so it doesn't get wet or bugs don't get on it. And then a couple of extra Ziploc baggies, because I do field dress my doves out in the field, and I put the doved out breasts in that bag. Then we have some spare shells in that pocket. And then right here, we have plastic liners made for these 5-gallon buckets. And you guessed it, they're biodegradable potty bags. So you can use your bucket as a toilet. we'll delve into that a little bit further, but let's keep going around this bucket right here. And we have more spare ammo right there. And that's why I love these little bucket caddies. So that's what's around the bucket. So this is my dove bucket with these biodegradable trail bags in it, and you can sit right on this bucket just like that and take a dump in this bag, and then take the bag out, bury it in the ground, and the bag will decompose very quickly. So it's a good option. I don't care. I'll poop on the ground anywhere, but you know, when I bring my wife hunting, this is a viable option, especially when you add these cheap little light toilet seat covers for 5-gallon buckets. And look at that. Happy right there. But like I said, that's not necessary gear. I can just bring some toilet paper and poop behind a tree, and I'm fine with that. But for the less inclined to do that, or people with maybe they can't squat because they have joint or muscle or hip problems, you know, this that's a viable option to poop in the field. And it goes without saying that these buckets make excellent trash cans in the field. Very convenient. So now I'm going to discuss my decoy spreads. Everyone has a different method of doing this and reasons for doing it their way. You know, I'm going to show you my way of doing it and the reasoning behind it. Be mindful that I'm setting my spread up in my backyard just for demonstration purposes for this video, because I don't want to go out into the field and freak out game wardens by leading them to believe that I'm out dove hunting before the season starts. So I'm setting this up in my backyard. And I also want to state that I actually like these lucky doves more than my old Mojo Voodoo doves. You know, these lucky doves are actually much more realistic and have a slimmer profile than the Mojos. Also, I love the way that the lucky doves connect to the poles, way better than the way the Mojos connect. Those square poles that you have to squeeze in on the Mojos are just a huge pain in the butt. I mean, they're hard to fit, and you're sitting there, you know, pulling on the bird. I really hate the pull situation on the Mojos, and these Luckies are way better. I also like that the battery compartment and switch is on the bottom of the dove rather than the top, because, you know, a lot of mornings in the fall, especially on the second dove opener, when I go out dove hunting, it might be sprinkling or moist out, and those Mojo Voodoo doves have the battery pack and the switch and everything on top where they're exposed to rain and the elements. And these are on the bottom where they should be. So I actually like these these Lucky Dove spinners more than I like the Mojo Voodoo doves. And as far as standing dove decoys go, I hate most of these. A lot of them don't even look like doves. You know, most of them, honestly, are just a form they use that could be a pigeon, could be a collared dove. I mean, it could be anything, and they just paint them different. These are actually manufactured, these are the Avery dove decoys, and these are actually manufactured to look like a mourning dove. They're the same shape, same slim profile of a mourning dove, and they're small. I hate those ground decoys that, I mean, they're obviously made to be pigeon decoys, but they're painted like a dove, but they're huge. And, you know, mourning doves aren't that big, but these actually look like mourning doves on the ground. I mean, they even have the bluish purple hue around the eye and beak, you know, that other doves key in on, other mourning doves key in on. So these Avery dove decoys are probably the best stationary decoys I think I've ever purchased. First of all, if you can only afford to, or can only carry one decoy, get one of these electronic spinning decoys. These are what really draws in the doves from a distance for a closer look. You know, the other decoys are kind of just for effect to keep their interest up, but these full-size spinning decoys are what really draws them in from a distance. You know, this is representative right here of one of my dove spreads. You know, sometimes early in the season, especially like September 1st, especially where I live and the doves aren't really migratory, they stick around all year because our climate allows it. You know, when our first season opens up on September 1st, many male and female doves are still paired up together. So my early season spread, you know, might have the doves sort of paired together. But as we get further into September, the doves, you know, tend to form into flocks and mingle more, and your spread should probably mimic that. You know, this is representative of kind of a little spread out flock here after they're not paired up anymore. You know, in most areas of the US, your spreads will look something like this. You know, after many years of doing this, I don't think setting up complicated dove trees and dove wires is worth it. Usually, a small assortment of good decoys with a couple of electronic spinners thrown in is enough to make passing doves think there's, you know, there's some type of seed action on the ground near you, and it brings them in. This spread right here is small enough to fit in my bucket easily, and I could set this up in well under 5 minutes. So there's no need to overdo things with decoys. I've seen guys bring in lots of doves with just one spinning decoy. So keep it simple. The next piece of gear you need is something to pull shells from and to throw your empty shells into. You know, you basically have vests, strap vests, and these dove or shotgun belts right here. You know, honestly, during the hot weather of the dove opener, a simple belt like these little dove belts are probably going to be a lot more comfortable in the heat. But when it isn't too hot out, I like the functionality of a strap vest the best. Since dove season opens in the summer, the sun is usually really high and intense at that time of year. Shooting down a dove as it flies 50 miles an hour while the sun's behind it is no easy task without a hat and a pair of sunglasses. You know, I consider these essential gear on the dove opener. You know, in early season, the sun is so intense where I hunt that you have to wear brown or gray lenses on your sunglasses just to see the doves. You know, but if it's partly cloudy, like a late season day, bronze is probably a better lens color. Just whatever you do, stay away from mirrored lenses on your sunglasses while you're bird hunting. It'll spook them away. Although not necessary, I also prefer polarized sunglasses. You know, and also be mindful that sunglasses aren't only from protection from the sun. They're also eye protection from errant pellets falling all over the place while you're out in a dove field hunting with 50 other hunters. So it's also eye protection during dove season when you probably need it more than any other form of hunting. And it goes without saying, do not forget your hunting license when you go out to hunt. You'd be surprised at how many people do that, but don't forget your hunting license. The two things that I often see dove hunters never bring enough of into the field are water and ammunition. It usually gets 100 degrees where I live during the dove opener. So a lot of extra water is mandatory. And, most of those guys that go out there for the first time just seem to bring maybe one or two things of water. And, you might go through that in the first hour and a half. So bring plenty of water. And like I said in my beginner's guide to dove hunting video, dove hunting is often high volume, fast and furious action with high daily bag limits. This means that you might shoot a whole lot of shells during a hunt. I've seen countless guys only bring 2 or 3 boxes of shells and run out of ammo halfway through their limit. Doves are actually harder to hit than you think. They fly very fast, they're very acrobatic, and they could just turn on a dime. I mean, these things turn like UFOs on UFO videos. If the doves are there, you're going to go through a lot of ammo, so make sure you bring enough. And I just want to bring up the point, always bring more water and ammunition than you think you're going to need. Well, I hope you enjoyed this refresher video on gear for the upcoming dove opener. You can contact me with any questions or comments at desertdogoutdoors@gmail.com. Well, I want to thank you for watching, and as always, good hunting.